Since 1948, the tiny lakeside town of Watkins, Glen has played host to auto racing. It all began when Cameron Argentsinger organized races on a 6.6-mile course that ran through downtown. But when the dangers of the course outweighed the entertainment, Bill Milliken and Cornell University professors designed a new course southwest of town. It's seen some changes over the years, but Watkins Glen International has hosted everything from SCCA, Grand Am, IMSA, and Formula One to NASCAR. Tonight, the Area Cup Series will race for 50 laps for round 4 of their season on this historic Northeastern road course. Welcome to upstate New York and Watkins Glen International. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian DeCuna, Hunter Slappy, and Eric Wineland for round 4 of the Area Cup Series. Finian, welcome aboard to our home track here in upstate New York.
Yeah, glad to be back for some road course racing. It feels like it's been a while since we've seen some road course racing here on Sim TV, and with these stock cars, especially with this package, we should be in for a show, especially with some of the talent we have in the series.
Have a good bit of talent in this series as well. You gotta look at the defending Cup champ Jake Nichols. He's always one to watch on these road courses. Travis Beckner, Area 500 winner from Season 3. He also knows a thing or two about getting it done on the road courses. James Scioli as well. There's plenty of hats to throw into the mix here. Maybe Connor Horn as well, last week's winner from Dover, Eric.
Yeah, and James Scioli, we deemed him the road course ringer when he first joined the area league, but since then he's shown he's versatile and able to lay it down on the ovals and the left and right turns of road courses. But I'm going to keep my eye on Ricky Springer, another guy who you don't think about as being one of the greats but on a road course, but I would not be surprised to see him run up front at a track like this. He is very much a specialist.
Well, think back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course a couple of months ago. Towards the tail end of the season, Ricky Springer put on a really good show there. He's up towards the top in terms of the playoff picture as we enter Watkins Glen International. But this is a very different road course, Finian, than some of the road courses we've run in the past here in the Area Cup Series. This place is fast. They call it the super speedway of road courses, and you never really slow down around a lap. Let's actually go for a lap with the track map here, Finian, and let's see what this racetrack looks like. It's 2.45 miles around here, 7 turns, and it all starts with the run down the front straightaway towards the 90. This used to be the last turn on the racetrack. This is modeled after the turn by the Sinclair gas station in downtown Watkins Glen. Then you enter turn number 2. That stretch used to be the old pit straight. Then it's an 110-foot climb up the S's, Finian, down the back stretch towards that inner loop added in 1992.
Yeah, the inner loop, also affectionately known as the bus stop, a very complex corner for a lot of drivers. You can make or break a lap through that section, definitely very important. Then heading through turn 5, the carousel, and you really need to get that part of the corner done right as well, because you get onto the back straightaway, and that's going to also be where you carry a lot of speed. Then to turn 6, which is going to be a great passing opportunity, especially with the new version of Watkins Glen. You have that paved runoff to work with, and you can bet everyone's going to be using that as much as possible. Then finally to turn 7, and then back into the start-finish straight, and that's going to complete a lap here of Watkins Glen.
That's the backup passing zone in case you decide not to do it in turn 6 and do it on the last turn, last lap, which that's happened before. Could happen again here tonight.
To watch how these guys are going to navigate these 7 corners, and may seem so simple just looking at the graphic there, but with the elevation change here at Watkins Glen, this place is anything but simple. So we watch James Scioli work his way through the bus stop there, and then real tight you're going to want to keep it through the carousel section, turn 5 right here. They'll use all this runoff. It's available. It's not an out of bounds zone here on iRacing. No slowdown or time penalty for going out that wide, and obviously the Cup cars are going to use it.
Yeah, there is really no out of bounds at the exit of the carousel, but there certainly is at the exit of turn 1 and even turn 10. If you go too far off there, that will get you in trouble. But here today, if it's paved, you're going to use it as much as possible. I don't really think running all that wide at turn 1 is that useful. It's really just there if you need it in an emergency. But it's all going to come down to the start of this race. No cautions in this 50-lap event, Finian, so qualifying is critically important. And you see how close the lap times are right now. Jake Nichols at a 1:10.59. And within a second, there's 10 drivers at a road course like this that's so fast and so flowing. It's very, very close. The slowest car is only about 3 seconds off, Finian, so qualifying will be critical tonight. And now with the sequential gearboxes in these cars, as Nichols goes for a big slide through the bus stop, the sequential gearboxes take a lot of the guesswork out of the blipping and the downshifting here. So that will make shifting a lot easier and keep the field a lot tighter together.
Oh, absolutely. As you look at Jake Nichols up on the top of the timesheets has not gotten a win so far this season, even though we've had three races. We were kind of joking about it, surprising. It seems like he's lacking just because his form last season was so spectacular, but here is the top of the timesheets. We'll see if he can get it done here at the road course. I think he's going to like the fact there's not going to be a whole lot of things potentially taking him out of it. Things like a caution coming out, it's not going to happen. Getting put down the or being at a road course is going to be pretty straightforward from start to finish. Just a matter of just making sure you minimize the amount of mistakes. Also want to take a look at the number 12, Frankie Barroso, up in third. He has a little bit of lockup in the bus stop. Oh, and into the wall.
Frankie Barroso is one that could surprise us all here at Watkins Glen with less than 2 minutes to go in practice, but I got my eye on the 73 Jake Nichols. It's the longest winless streak he's been in since he's joined Area back in Season 2. And then there's Travis Beckner, you see there running fourth quickest time. He also is the self-proclaimed king of the road courses, but there can really only be one, and apparently that is Skyoli. Also look at Greg Mitchell in fifth. Now, haven't talked a whole lot about him on road courses, so maybe this is where he could shine on his moment.
Greg Mitchell's had a season to forget in most of the series here in Area so far in Season 4. Just not a great start through the first three races. He looks to rebound here at Watkins Glen. I can speak from experience that a road course is a great place to try to get your feet back underneath you, having done it at Sonoma last season in the Area Truck Series.
Yeah, and we talked about the drivers to watch here, you got to look at a guy like Travis Beckner at a place like Watkins Glen. The reason why is because this is a racetrack where the more aggressive you are, the faster you're going to go. We look specifically at that inner loop, the bus stop. How aggressive you get determines how fast you go. How much of those curbs do you clobber, and can you keep the car under control as you slalom through that section? It really is fast to see some three wide here at the tail end of practice between a couple of cars. It's an exciting lap around here, but you get there's a payoff for aggression, and I think for a guy like Travis Beckner, that really could be good news. As practice comes to a close here for the Area Cup Series at Watkins Glen, fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. For only $5 a month, you can watch all Area broadcasts commercial-free. You can also use new Area iRacing emotes in the chat and earn double channel points as a subscriber that you can use to redeem for free merchandise at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. So with practice complete, Finian, we head into qualifying. And as I mentioned, without cautions, without really the opportunity to leapfrog anybody in the pits 10 times over, qualifying is critically important to having a good run here tonight. Practice doesn't matter. This is where it all counts.
Oh, this is definitely where it all counts. Curious to see who's going to be the first ones to really get out on the track. As the session just ticks over, I see Ricky Springer immediately jumping into the car, getting on the track. I'm curious to see, guys, if we think it's worth waiting at all. Actually, can you even afford to really wait that much? I guess it takes 3-4 minutes to make a lap. So I guess you could wait a little bit towards the end of qualifying, but is it worth waiting, or do you want to just get out there while you can?
I don't think it's worth waiting. As we see Springer on the track, I believe, Eric, this is a driver that you said you're going to keep an eye on, but in my opinion, I don't think you should wait that long. Like you said, it takes about 3-4 minutes to get your lap started and then complete it. And another thing that's important about qualifying is that during the race there will be no cautions, none for incident, none for a halftime break, none of that. So starting position here is going to be crucial and going to want to avoid trouble, especially early on.
Yeah, I don't know if we get a chance to take a look at our conditions that we're driving in for today's event here at Watkins Glen, but in-sim time has us at 12:45, just past it now that qualifying has started, and the date is actually May 15th, so full sun, not really too many clouds in the sky. It's listed as partly cloudy here in the sim. It means the track is 121 for these guys, so they're going to be slip-sliding around a lot, and despite that, you do still want to try to build heat in the tires, because it may be a lap 1, may be a lap 2 for qualifying. They are given 2 laps here, unlike most of our tracks that we're going to go to here in the Area Cup Series throughout the season. So realistically, you could potentially wait for a cloud to come over and maybe catch a little bit of a break in the track temperature, but it being so early, I say early in the day, the track's just going to soak up more sun. It's only 12:45 in the sim, so as the next couple hours go, just going to have sun beat on it even more, and the temperature will rise.
You know, it's funny, you mentioned Watkins Glen being slippery when the track temperature gets hot. I was just here this past weekend for Grid Life at the Glen, and you know, what's funny is that this racetrack is actually pretty universally known for being one of the grippiest tracks in the country after its repave in the fall of 2015. And now, despite that grip level here in the stock cars, with the tires we've got, with the power level we've got, and the lack of downforce that we have, it can be a pretty treacherous racetrack despite the relative grip level. So that temperature is something we'll have to keep our eyes on today that will rise throughout the afternoon. But it is still a very fast racetrack, and has a lot more grip than you would expect, especially in that inner loop and up the S's. Until you get to the top, when the track stops climbing, and then you get light at the top of the hill. But here you watch Ryan Hartz just bang over the curbs through the bus stop here. You have to be aggressive, and Hartz has done that so far. Currently P3 on the board, but Ricky Springer so far, Finian, lap 1, a 1:11.40. That's the quickest lap we've seen so far. We saw much quicker than that, though, in practice.
Yeah, accuracy of that lap will stand one of the first guys to get out there in the 51 machine. Most drivers now going on to lap number 2. Michael Curran jumping up to second place in the 24. Is that a decent run on the road course? And I guess for Ricky Springer, not too surprising to see him up there, because if I'm not mistaken, was the last road course winner here in the Area Cup Series, winning at the Indianapolis road course last season.
Indeed he was, and looking at the time that Nate Trito, well, Ryan Hartz just took over that. I was going to say the track record back in Season 1 when they ran the Gen 6 cars, held by David Weishart at a 1:11.363, but that's obviously blown out of the water.
Curran's looking pretty quick in the 24. He's showing pretty quick on the timing sheets. Might be able to potentially beat Brian Hart's. Now Brandon 6 up near the top as he comes across the line.
Yeah, that track record's going to get shattered here, Hunter. As Curhan jumps to the top of the board, he breaks under the 1:11 barrier. The first driver to do so, but still quite a few out here making second laps. Frankie Barroso just got his first lap on the board. Greg Mitchell slotting into 6th as well. The 1:11.275.
And looking at the lap times there, it is very, very close at the top of the order as it stands. Curhan with that 1:11.0, which is a 1:10.996, and it's a 1:11.001 for Brandon 6 running second. You see Jake Nichols go up to 4th there on the timing and scoring the number 73 Chevrolet. Looking for a victory for the first time this season, Finian, after winning a whole bunch of them in the prior 2 seasons. I don't know if it would come as a surprise for him to win on a road course, but I also don't think that it's the place that we were expecting him to get his first win of the season.
No, definitely no. As James Scioli just jumped to the top spot in the number 7 machine. But yeah, no, I mean, he's had some Jake Nichols has had some stiff competition this season so far, and I'm really keeping an eye on his lap because he's looking to be about 0.2 of a second up faster than the next few drivers. So the 73 might go on pole here if he can finish the second half of this lap.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising if Jake Nichols wins on a road course, especially to get his first win of the season. But again, race 4, still plenty of races to go, but a stretch that we're unfamiliar with for the 73 of Jake Nichols, and Travis Beckner just jumped up to the top, and it seems like the 73 going to come down, complete his lap. He goes to the top of the chart.
By 0.2 of a second as Jake Nichols snagged the pole. Still a second lap to complete, so he's going to run it out here and see what he can manage.
That was his second lap.
A couple others. Oh, that was his second lap?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, let's keep an eye here on Connor Horn. And this is a driver that I think has been a wild card so far, new to series this season. Big counter steer as he left turn number 5 there in the runoff. It's bumpy out there, certainly, and the camber falls away over the edge of the curb. But Connor has been kind of a wild card this season. I think definitely a championship contender right out of the gate. A lot of drivers weren't necessarily expecting to have another new driver to contend with. But as far as road courses here, Finney, we've seen him win here at Watkins Glen in the past, way back, I think it was the Outsider Racing League. So it's been a little while, a couple of years, since we've seen him win here on Sim TV. But lap number 1 for Connor Horn isn't going to be good enough to put him anywhere near the front. It's P19. We'll have to hope for an improvement for him if he wants to start up towards Jake Nichols and have that championship fight here on the road course.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing with Connor, I think he realized that, lap 1 is going to be the dead anyway, so he's going to be pushing for lap 2. I think lap 1 was just getting the tires warmed up to a solid temperature, and then now going all out on lap number 2. thing is, if he makes a mistake, he's going to be starting midfield, if not midfield, towards the back. So he's got to make sure he nails this lap in here. So he goes flying over the curbs, nice and tidy.
As Horn works his way through the carousel, I want to point out that Cameron Hearn has yet to qualify. I don't believe he's on track to put down a lap, but he was the Season 1 winner, again, with the Gen 6 car at this track. So Cameron Hearn obviously knows how to get it done on the road course, but if he's going to start that deep in the field without putting a time down, it'll be very difficult for him to do.
Yeah, actually, it looks like Cameron Hearn, he did start and make an attempt on both laps. I think made a mistake on both, so he's going to be calling it an effort. And he's going to be starting near the back, it seems.
Well, that was a good lap for Horn. No, it wasn't a 1:11.544, only good enough for 16th. It looked like it was going to be quicker. Very tidy lap, but didn't go quite as fast, Finian, as I think we were expecting. So he'll have to battle from mid-pack in this one, but again, this is a nearly 40-car field. You certainly could do a lot worse than 16th, but here's Douglas Newbegin in the number 71, working his way down to turn number 6. Again, running the short course here at Watkins Glen, which means you're running straight from 5 to 6, not using any of that extra mile of boot course. That adds a little bit of an extra challenge here to the lap. But Newbegin exits turn number 7 and back onto the front straight. We'll see what the 71 can do.
Yeah, but not that good of a lap. I think made a mistake at some point. Was just wrapping things up. So he will hold on to that 9th place spot. And from the looks of it, it looks like no one else is getting out on the track. So qualifying looks like, at the moment at least, going to finish up pretty early here.
I was about to say, Seth Noel just had a flyer through the bus stop and then realized he's already completed 2 laps. He's just getting some extra practice in right now in the 1 car. Douglas Newbegin, the only one that's still on another potentially timed lap here, with 50 seconds remaining in qualifying.
I'll say shout out Celsius. I'm having a, what is this flavor? Mandarin marshmallow. Very good stuff, Celsius is. I see it every Monday here with either Travis Beckner or Seth Noel or both drivers, and had to cave in, and boy, this is some good stuff. But it seems like Travis Beckner definitely had himself a Celsius because he is 3rd on the chart, and I believe that's where he'll start. Seth Noel, he had one before the Area 500 and got himself a victory there, so he can just cruise on through at the Glen. But like I said, I'm going to keep my eye on the pole sitter, Jake Nichols in the 73.
Yeah, I was told, by the way, I must say that Grid Life is contracted with NOS, so there's that. But I must say that I heard a bunch of people tell me how good Celsius is, so maybe I should sneakily try that, not when I'm on camera. But Seth Noel working his way through the last couple of corners. Beckner is going to start 3rd. I'm still keeping my eye on that 28 car, but qualifying is complete here from Watkins Glen International, the 2.5-mile racetrack getting set for 50 laps of Area Cup Series action. In just a moment, we'll roll through our Roasted Gems coffee starting lineup. Race fans, start your engines with a fresh cup of Roasted Gems coffee. Choose from some of the finest coffee beans from Colombia and Peru, or try the blended flavors of French vanilla and hazelnut. Use discount code AREA iRacing for 10% off your order at checkout at roastedgems.com. So, Finian, we know the challenges here at Watkins Glen. We know how aggressive you have to be, but the opening lap, there's something to say about tiptoeing as you climb up those S's for the first time. Got to avoid those blue bushes as they narrow in, and you get that run down to the bus stop. Once you're through the bus stop, things get a whole lot easier from there, but we've seen some big ones coming up the hill.
Oh, we definitely have, especially at the start of a race. You got cold tires, and especially with the track looking pretty slick at the moment. I think with these guys dealing with cold tires on a slick racetrack, they're definitely going to want to be careful the first few laps, and especially, again, considering the fact that we're probably not going to see a caution out for this race, you're going to really want to take it a little bit easy through the first lap or two, wait to start to feel things out, wait for the car to start to come into its own, and then finally start pushing. But we'll see here as we're getting ready to grid.
We'll get down to our Roasted Gems coffee starting lineup here in a minute. You've seen the scenes from the town. Lake Seneca, one of the deepest finger lakes, and that is just a couple of miles here from the racetrack. We're up on the top of the hill on Bronson Hill Road, just about 4 miles from downtown where it all started. But here's a look at our starting lineup, the Roasted Gems coffee starting grid. Jake Nichols starts on the front row, that number 73, trying to get his first win of the season. James Scioli in a familiar place up front here at Watkins Glen.
Moving on back to row number 2, it's going to be Travis Beckner starting in the 28 machine next to Michael Curran with a really solid effort from that 24 car. See if either of them can end up in victory lane before the night's over.
In row number 3, it's Brandon 6. In the number 66, Ryan Hartz rolls off 6th in the number 3.
Back behind, there's going to be Frankie Barroso lined up in the 12 car. Next to him, Ricky Springer, the last winner on a road course here in the Cup Series, starting a little bit further back than I think we would have thought, but we'll see if he can climb from that 8th place starting spot.
We'll certainly have to keep an eye on him. Row 5, Douglas Newbigging in the number 71 Chevrolet. JT Poole starts alongside him, was very close to victory last week at Dover. He'll start 10th in the number 26.
Moving on back to 11th, we find Greg Mitchell in the number 2 machine. Next to him, Nate Trudeau's going to join to complete row number 6 in 12th place.
Row number 7, starting in 13th place, is Bryce Senesac in his familiar green and black Chevrolet Camaro. Seth Knoll, the Area 500 winner, starts 14th in the number 1 Toyota.
Moving on back to 15th, it's going to be Ray Slate in the number 8 machine. Connor Horn starting next to him last week's winner. He's got a long way to work from 16th place. He wants to make it win number 2 in the season.
And behind them in 17th place, it's going to be Connor Okresic in the number 14 car. Tyler Nichols rolls off 18th in the number 41.
Moving on back to 19th, it's going to be Brandon Bowie in the 23 machine. Next to him, Michael Sturgill in the 17 car is going to be rolling off in P20.
In 21st place, it's Chris Rabel in the number 29. Cedric Hunter starts 22nd in the 07 Ford Mustang.
Moving on behind them in 23rd, it's going to be Dwayne Culberson in the 81 machine. Next to him, Nick Silver in the 46 is going to be lined up in 24th.
25th place, it's going to be Jordan Martin in the number 11 Chevy. Garrett Grant starts 26th in the number 5 Toyota Camry.
Moving on in behind them, it's going to be Ed Robertson in the 64 machine rolling off in 27. Next to him, Jacob Bell in the 77 from 28th.
29th place is Skylar Shackelford in the number 88. Ryan Swan starts 30th in the 67. And it looks like, Finney, we had a slow car in the background. Didn't quite catch who it was off screen, but they did not get rolling as we started our pace lap here.
Yeah, take a look and see who that is after we get through the lineup. Ben Pearson rolling off in the 65 in 31st. Jonathan Cogswell next to him in the 27 car in 32nd.
In 33rd place, it's Delonte Ballard in the number 21. David Weishart didn't qualify. He'll start 34th in the number 33.
And then Cameron Hearn, who tried to qualify, didn't get a good lap in. He's going to be starting from the back in 35th. I'll be rounding out your field of 35 cars here tonight. Trying to take a look and see who was the car that dropped back to the end. I'm not sure.
It's Ricky
Hunter.
Springer, guys. I think he's
that?
having a hardware issue. They say the in-session radio chat was they were trying to figure out how he could get himself reset. It looks like he was able to get whatever was disconnected connected, probably the wheel, and able to pull away now. But he is obviously well behind. Oh, the way he's driving, he might not be using a wheel. He may be using a keyboard. I don't know.
I was gonna say that was a pretty decent jerk from him. I'm not sure that is normal.
He could also be just distracted.
I think that might be the more likely option there, is he's just trying to get whatever was disconnected back to him. It could be also a shifter, too. I've seen that be a pretty common problem. But Finney, the field is doubled up here. Let's pick some winners for this one. I got the 28. That's already been my pick. I think, Eric, you got the 73. Hunter, who's your pick for this one?
Mine is indeed the 73 of Jake Nichols.
Finney, who you
James
got?
Scioli instead.
Oh, I think for me, I'm going to pick the 51 of Ricky Springer. That is if he can get back in line before this is going. I think I saw him flying in the background. Might actually just be starting from the back, which is not going to look well for me. I think he is indeed starting from the back, so he's got a long way to go, but I like the underdog. We'll see what happens here.
Pace car pulls off 50 laps from Watkins Glen International. Welcome to road course racing in upstate New York. They've done it here since 1948, and here we go. Green flag flies, and we're racing at the Glen. Good even start there between the front two. We're 4 wide in the background as they head down to the 90 for the first time. Everyone gets the cars woed down, and now the challenge comes, climbing 110 feet up the S's, Finian.
Yeah, and look at for the lead. These guys are not getting it done at all. It's James Scioli and the 73 of Jake Nichols fighting side by side and doing each other through the S's. Scioli doesn't want to give this up.
Neither does Jake Nichols. He'll take over as the leader as they head down.
Whoa.
Oh, whoa, that's Doug Newbigging. He is swerving as they go down the back and into the bus stop.
That was a wild slide there. Caught the grass at the top of the hill right as the track kind of stops curving. And Newbigging's going to cut the racetrack there in the bus stop. That'll be a slowdown penalty for him right in the middle of traffic as Seth Knoll goes the long way around behind him. The 12 of Barroso, the 9 of Nate Trito, as they all try to squeeze up off the corner. Some will go wide up onto the rumble strips, but this lap one is going to be frantic fitting as everyone goes to find headroom to race.
Yeah, very frantic battle. This is all around 8th, 9th place. You can see the 1 and 71 still side by side. Newbegin going out wide. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten that slowdown yet because he's still fighting up the speed. Or maybe now he's trying to yield here. He's going to park it on the apex. Trado, Slate, and a whole bunch of others trying to work around him after a hectic lap one comes to an end, but without pretty much any, I think, major incidents from what I could see.
Well, it looks like in the back, as they were heading through turn 6, Skylar Shackelford was blinking in and out, and I believe he is he's still on track in 31st, but he had an issue going through turn 6.
Here's a look down at the 24, Michael Curhan, and the 66 of Brandon Six, and he locked up huge going down into turn number 1. Runs a little bit wide on exit. We're going to see that turn 1 challenging. You go down there, you think you can brake a little bit later, but you can't. The track falls away, so you don't have a lot of weight over the tires. Unlike on the boot section here, going into what is that turn 7, the toe of the boot, where the track changes from sharply downhill to sharply uphill. You can use the gravity there to assist you to slow down. Turn 1 is the opposite. Used to deal with wheel hop issues when the cars had independent rear suspension, with the stick axle, but now with the independent rear suspension, slowing down is easier. Who was not slowing down, though? The leaders, Nichols and Scioli, still tight for the top spot.
Yeah, really, still a really solid battle between these two. Scioli's not falling off at all. We usually typically see at a lot of the road courses, you have that one guy, and usually ends up starting on pole, and then just drives away from the rest of the field. But Scioli's not doing that. He's keeping him honest. And again, reminder for everyone at home, there's no competition caution or anything to slow the pace down. So these guys are going to have to come down to pit lane at some point. There's no guarantee point when they're going to pit, so it's all going to be a strategy matter, managing to pace yourself and not wreck yourself throughout this race. And behind them, Travis Beckner and Curran getting close as a fight for third place is starting to brew.
Yeah, battling for the lead, battling for third. They're keeping it close, nose and tail, as they're working their way down the back and into the bus stop. And a little further back, it's Seth Knoll and Frankie Barroso going at it as we're riding on board with Barroso, navigating through the bus stop and about to head down into the carousel.
Hearing that it was a VR issue for Ricky Springer, so it sounds like, or at least looks like, he got that sorted, because he wouldn't have gotten very far without that issue fixed. As we check in with him in 24th place, he was supposed to start in 8th, so he's still got a lot of work to do, and it might even take him out of the running to win this race, unless you've got a significant pace over the race leaders. Without cautions to reset anything, you have to be amazingly fast, and this race is going to go by pretty quick. A pretty short race from flag to flag, because without those cautions to slow things down. Here's Connor Horn working over Brendan Bowie here for 15th place.
Yeah, Connor Horn now looking to the inside of the 23. They were duking it out through the last few corners. They're still not done duking it out here. As Connor Horn going to look to the inside, Bowie's on the outside in his purple Toyota Camry. They're still going to go side by side, and it looks like neither one wants to give up the track position or the spot. 23 is going to have to go out a little bit wide, though, as the 42, they're going to try to make it work side by side to the S's, and I guess not, as Connor Horn decides to back out.
Horn picking up his first Area Cup win last week at Dover, and the first win for 609 Motorsports, going to help them out in the team standings, which he showed before qualifying. And I gotta say, those standings, I've never seen them as tight as they can be. And right now, at the top of those standings, it's Solar Flare Racing, just like Jake Nichols is leading the way here so far early on.
Yeah, Brandon Bowie got real sideways over the curbs in the bus stop. Now, I mentioned how aggression will make you faster here, but there is a limit to that in the bus stop, and it's going to open him up for a pass down here at turn 6. Connor Horn, latest of the late breakers, he gets the pass done, and here comes Sedasek way out wide, trying to carry some good speed, and not going to work out very well for the 09 as he's under attack now from behind. But Horn up to 15th place as he continues his climb forward after a subpar qualifying run.
Yeah, and behind, there's Sedasek. We saw the mistake out of the penultimate corner. Now here comes Cedric Hunter in the 07 trying to make another move. Going to look to the outside of the 09, trying to make his 4th pass of the day, and up into 18th will the 07 go. Actually not quite done just yet. 07 versus 09 through the S's. They will go again. And Bryce Sedasek decides to back out of it.
And he's already got Chris Rabel right behind him. Gotta say, I'm a bit surprised that he's back in 20th. Seems like road courses are not his thing, which that's okay. It is for some, and it is for Scioli and Nichols as they continue to drive away from Beckner and Kern, running at 3rd and 4th on the track. And then JT Poole having, I don't think we've mentioned him, but unless we got to the
Connor Horn.
Group.
He had an incident. Slow and off the pace, got passed by a bunch of cars.
Oh, he definitely had something go wrong.
Yeah, down to 27th place, runs wide here in the bus stop and gets up on the curbs, goes around for a loop, grinds it to a halt, and somehow everybody dodged him there. But again, going back to what I said about the aggression, it will make you faster, but there is a limit to that, and you get really greedy here on these curbs. These curbs will absolutely junk a car if you don't take them quite right, and Connor just got a little bit too aggressive here on board now with Rabel. Watch this as Horn slides back across the road. Great defense. And the crazy thing is here is the camber of turn 5 that we're in. When you get over that white line, the camber completely goes away. So to go over that line and not end up in the tire bundles over there, really impressive driving there by the 29.
Comeback Lives, Bryce Senizek, Cedric Hunter, Chris Rabel in a tight battle. We just saw them making it through. These guys had an eventful last lap or so, and then there's Ricky Springer riding behind them, making some forward progress. Last time we checked on him was 24th, is up to 21st, and looking like he's faster. He seems to be faster than the 3 guys ahead of him. Problem is, with a guy that's as fast as him, knows that he's faster, might he be pushing his tires a little bit too hard early on?
I would say a little bit. He does have a reason to kind of push his tires because of his VR issue, but I'm not sure. He's definitely got a lot of ground to make up, and can't just lay back and let the long run settle in. Got to worry about tire wear later. Just got to move up a few positions now, as I believe that's what David Weishart's doing, up 10 spots since the start of the race.
Yeah, really good climb there for the 33 as he's still in the middle of some traffic. Has the 81 of Carlston in front of him, the 4 of Cameron Hearn behind him, who's another driver that started. Look at the braking down here into turn 1 for the 4, and Weishart runs a little bit wide. Lock up there from the 81. Great battles here deep in the field as they run a little bit wide of the track limits there at turn 1, but you can go over 4 tires and you'll be just fine. You get about 2 or 3 car widths off course. That'll get you in trouble here as we go back to a battle for 6th with JT Poole and Brandon 6, who had to bail out. Here comes Seth Knoll with a big run finish.
Yeah, there are nose to tail. I saw them getting really close in the relative heading towards the bus stop. Unfortunately, 6, he saw him mess up the bus stop and he lost a huge amount of time. And I mentioned it earlier, and Kyle, I'm sure you can definitely attest to as a hunter as well. You make a mess in that bus stop, it can cost you dearly as far as time is concerned.
It certainly can, and it'll gain you time, it'll lose you time here. But Eric Wineland's in pit lane. What you got for us?
Hey guys, it didn't take long for the first 4-letter word to get come across the radio tonight. The Connor Horn, Brandon Bowie incident, I have the scoop on this, and this is an interesting one. So let's just listen into Brandon Bowie radio here first.
I think Connor is really flustered right now. Shit. He's wrecking.
We stopped in the carousel.
Holy shit.
And if you caught the tail end there, that was the in-sim radio that you heard. Connor Horn said the 14 just tried to dump me. Well, Connor Okrezik was already 2 to 3 seconds up the road from Connor when he had his moment with Brandon Bowie. So I don't know where the frustration is placed there. I think it's misplaced from Connor Horn. They have now since muted his chat because he told Race Control, and I quote, "You might as well do that. It's probably for the best."
That sounds like the Connor Horn we know and love, Eric.
Well, here's his thoughts on the incident.
You're that much faster than never mind, it's not worth it.
So that's how he answered originally, and then Race Control, and he had a little spat back and forth, and now he'll probably be disabled for the rest of the race. We'll see. But Connor Horn back to 25th. He's working over Dwayne Culberson right now to see if he can get back up the order. Meanwhile, up front, you guys are looking at it's the 46, the silver ahead of the 09 of Senesac.
Thanks, Eric. And yeah, good battle there. And one here. This is for 7th place here. Seth Knoll, the Area 500 winner, and Brandon 6 in the 66 car. Look at the stack up behind him. Nate Trado and the 8 of Rafe Slate is in the mix here, and Frankie Barroso. And this battling continues here. And Finian, one of the challenges with road courses as we were listening to that little fiasco there, a lot of the times you control your own destiny, and that can be frustrating when you make a mistake and there's no one to blame. I think that could also make drivers pretty hot, because normally you can point at someone else and say that's why you had a bad day, but sometimes it's in your own hands here at the road courses.
Oh, it almost, most of the time it almost is. Once the field gets strung out a little bit, a lot of it is up to your own, even when you're getting into contact with another driver, because everyone gets so situated out. And then there's so many different ways to attack a corner, where a lot of times it is kind of your fault for either putting yourself in a bad situation or making the move wrong. So, and then in general just making a lot of mistakes. But fortunately for Gotta say, for most of this field, actually, they've done a really good job so far. As I say, a big dive from Rafe Slate. Hello, to the inside he will go, almost dooring the 12, and here you go 3 wide off the corner as Nate Trado takes a 2-for-1 deal, and he gets it done.
And don't count out Douglas Dubinging as well. I was going to say, the 8 of Slate almost had a moment coming off turn 7. Had a little wiggle there, and it carried in when he was going to make a move on Barroso. But Barroso also went down, and just like that, Eric Weiland back with an update from pit road.
Dive Bomb of the Year candidate right now. I actually think Rafe was probably just trying to avoid an incident. No, so got some clarification. I found the replay. Connor Horn upset with Connor O'Kresick. I don't know if we can cue it up on SimTV here, but lap 3 in the carousel. Horn had gotten the bus stop pretty wrong. O'Kresick closed up on him, and O'Kresick then tried to dive for the bottom in the carousel, and Connor Horn tried to slam the door and instead got his right rear and Connor's left front together, and he almost went for a spin that put him back, and then Brandon Bowie helped ship Connor Horn toward the back. So Connor Horn's frustrations are actually properly placed. Although he was struggling as O'Kresick was trying to take advantage, it ended up looking like just a racing deal, but not happy in the number 42 car right now, guys.
No, you don't get a lot of mulligans in the season either, especially when you've been running as well as the 42 has. He's been in the championship hunt. He will probably continue to be, but you don't get a lot of opportunities to make mistakes or to go to the back and drive forward. And most racetracks, we saw this at Charlotte with Connor, he rebounded pretty well, but at a track like Watkins Glen with no cautions, you're going to have a really hard time rebounding from bad luck or an incident. So really the name of the game is keep it on the black stuff, keep it pointed the right direction, and you'll probably have an okay result as others run into issues later in the race. So go back to this battle for 8th with Brandon 6 and Nate Trado, but 11 laps into this race, Finney, and they go by quick, and you don't get a lot of opportunities to recoup positions once you lose them.
No, you really don't. You can see how spread out the field is. In fact, the entire field spread out over 40 seconds, and just inside the top 10, they're separated by 11 seconds amongst them. So, leader is pretty strung out, except for the front 2. Jake Nichols, James Scully deep in behind. I'm curious to see what the 7's waiting for. If he's just kind of keeping pace with the 73, is he hiding something? Because Hunter looks like he might be hiding something, some performance underneath that 7 car.
If he's hiding anything, then he's barely hiding it, because he's like you mentioned, been on his bumper for basically the entirety of the race, and I don't really know what else he can hide, because we all know that Jake Nichols, the longer the run gets, somehow the better his car gets. He just knows how to maneuver the tires or just save them so well. And if he's leading, then just only imagine what that could do for a longer run. But see those two still going at it door to door, well, nose and tail. Beckner's got a little bit of breathing room from Michael Kern over there for 3rd and 4th, and I don't think we've mentioned Ryan Hartz throughout the portion of the race. We have talked about him in practice and qualifying, but very solid top 5 going on right now for the 3 of Ryan Hartz. And then there's JT Poole behind as Seth Knowles slowly trying to creep within a second of that 26 car.
You know, as far as the leaders go, I was thinking about the way this looks. Think back to our race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway last fall. It was Ricky Springer and it was James Scioli, and they ran just like this, nose to tail, for the majority of the race, and it really came down to the very end of the race and the mistakes that were made on pit lane. So that will be pretty critical as we work our way a little bit closer to the pit window. Eric Wideland's on pit lane with an update.
Hey guys, I got a wild development for you here in Finian's pick to win the race. Finian, I regret to inform you, it is not going to happen for the number 51 car of Ricky Springer. Listen in, here's why.
Okay, this is horrible.
Listening in.
Okay, good. You can tell the chat that I can only see the top quarter out of my windshield. My Oculus froze, and I am currently looking at half of the windshield and the roof of my car.
I'm trying to be his eyes.
So Dylan Lee, a Solid Rock Performance team member for a different series, the truck series, has stepped in to try to help guide Ricky Springer home. I cannot believe that Ricky Springer is even attempting to drive the car right now, but he's doing a pretty good job of it while only seeing part of the car, mainly based off of the aerial shots out of the windshield. He can't see anything below. He also cannot access his black box. So the adjustments that sim racers here on iRacing can make is adjusting the driver view. No matter what your view is, you can still change what your angle of your eye level and everything like that in the car. Well, he can't get his black box to even think about trying to change that. So he's doing everything based off of what his spotter Dylan Lee is telling him. And I guess he's said he's not trying to race too many people. He's just trying to bring this thing home.
It's
This
funny
reminds me of, go ahead, Finian.
No, I was going to say it's funny because they usually say, the joke spotters are eyes and ears for Ricky Springer. Quite literally, his eyes and ears.
It just reminds me of 2016 here at Watkins Glen. It was Denny Hamlin ran into the back of something or somebody and had his hood basically crumple up, and he was looking out of the bottom corner of where the hood was crunched up to look where he was going. It seems like a pretty familiar situation for Ricky Springer. That's unfortunate, Finian, but he's doing a great job guiding his way around the racetrack. But as we go back to this battle here with this is the 71 of Newbegin and the 14 of Okresic, that's a challenging thing to do, and we'll see how long he lasts or if that problem will get worse, but I promise you it won't get any better.
No, definitely won't. But I have to agree with you. He's done a fantastic job of managing it. I mean, with the way he's driving right now, you wouldn't realize there is any issues with his car, but he's done a phenomenal job of managing the issue. But like Eric said, probably isn't going to go a whole lot higher up the order. I think he's going to kind of hope that everyone else is going to meet some sort of misfortune, just kind of hanging out, tough it out there in P20.
Yeah, very interesting issue he's having. I'm not sure if he can fix that during his pit stop and switch to the normal perspective, like not virtual reality. I don't know if that's possible, but yeah, he's got a long way to go here, only on lap 15.
Race fans, be sure to visit simwrapmarket.com for custom iRacing paint scheme templates that are simple to use and help you stay more focused on the racetrack. That is simwrapmarket.com. They are a replay sponsor tonight. We've gotten a couple of Simwrap Market replays. I'm sure we'll see some more throughout the night. So go back to this battle for third. Beckner is getting hounded here by Michael Curhan. That 24 car looking pretty solid, Finian. Remember, he was a championship contender at the tail end of the season. He could start that a little bit earlier this year with a win here at the Glen.
Yeah, I've been kind of waiting for him to get a move on with it in the standings. Has not had the best of finishes, if I'm not mistaken. Nothing really stand out. Yeah, he finished 10th at Dover, which was his best finish so far, 24th at Charlotte, and 29th at Daytona. So this is really best performance he's had, trying to see if he can get into the top three all over the back of that 28 at the moment.
Indeed. Well, he did have a little breathing room, but whatever breathing room was there is now gone. Curran hounds him going into the bus stop.
It's a popular area to kind of dive underneath. This is what the 14 and 42 issue was you come out of that bus stop and you kind of track out about half the track width before you turn in for the carousel. It's a really good opportunity to try to get your nose in under somebody and pass them through turn 5, but the 24 not quite close enough that time by, and Beckner has done a good job defending, but they have lost about 4 seconds to the race leaders of Nichols and Scioli, but Nichols has been slowly edging out that lead. It was 0.3 of a second. It's now 0.7 of a second as they return to the front straightaway and complete lap number 17. And soon they'll be thinking about pit stop situation here. You can go about 28 to 30 laps or so, maybe a little bit less than that. And I think we'll see probably 2 stops in this one.
Yeah, I think we're.
Oh no, sorry, 1 stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we're definitely gonna start to see them. Sorry, what I was gonna say. We're definitely starting to see Jake Nichols start to saving his tires early on. Now he's starting to breakaway Hunter. I think this is exactly what we're talking about and exactly what we've seen last season. He does a great job of saving his tires over the long run. Hasn't been able to stretch that or make that strategy work because we've had quite a few yellows in some of the last few races, but now he's been given his bread and butter now and is making the most out of it, getting to run well on a long run as the car goes through the Delonte Baller that went for a wild ride there.
Yeah, Balor's having a interesting go. I'm not sure if he pitted or not, and that's how the leaders caught him, but from the looks of it, it seems like he's having a rough go on the road course.
It looks like he might have just bailed out of the way there to not get in the way. Really, the bus stop is a single file line, and if you're in the way, I don't think Nichols was going to wait around for you, so he will go a lap down here, as it looks like that's the 3 of Ryan Hartstead has caught him here, and he will let him right by as well. Going back to the pit stop sequence here, 25 to 28 is the pit window. I'd be shocked if it wasn't just split this race right down the center. I think that's really the plan for everyone, and certainly to maximize tire life, Finian. You don't really want to stretch out or pit too early. You really want to kind of carry that tire life as best you can over both runs, and that means pit in lap 24 to 26 is what I'd expect about 8 laps from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we did see anyone planning a two-stop strategy, which would be a little bit too aggressive, I think, in this scenario, and it would just cost you way too much time in pit lane, we would have already seen them come down to pit lane. So now it's just a matter of seeing these guys hanging out there. But now it's going to be the hardest time for them because they're towards the end of the stint, so their tires are pretty slick, and we've been seeing more and more sliding around for a lot of these drivers.
Indeed, as the grip goes, the slicker the track gets and the looser the car gets. As we see Trito on the bumper of Knoll for that 7th spot, and I was going to say, if they could do two-stop strategy, might not work out, but if they wanted to, they would have had to do that a couple laps ago, but might see some try to come in as soon as, I'd say, lap 21, 22-ish.
I just think, think back to Indianapolis. We did not see almost any tire fall off in terms of your overall pace. And right now, the same is true here. About a 1:11.4 for Jake Nichols last time. It's only half a second off. You're not going to gain the time back, so they'll be probably just splitting this race right down the middle. But Eric Wineland's on pit lane with an update.
I'm going to break that strategy for you, Kyle, because none of these guys are taking tires.
No.
This is going to be fuel only. The tires can last for the entirety of the race is what I'm hearing up and down the pit lane here. And I even have some info from Solar Flare that Jake may not flinch until James flinches, which it would be no surprise to me. That's what I would do as the leader right now with a 6/10 of a second gap. And if we're not taking tires, regardless if there's a tire advantage taking tires or not, you want to be in probably the lap after James does. You want to let James try to be the aggressor here, because obviously he could potentially make a mistake anyway himself. But some radio for you from Solar Flare Racing. They get a new voice hanging out with them tonight. Chris Overland, former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, and a guy I used to spot for. He's spotting for Tyler Nichols to listen in what he's going to give TK on the pit stop.
Yeah, I'm spotting.
Oh, he did red. Okay.
We're gonna make some adjustments on this pit stop for TK. We're gonna give him 16 rounds of wedge and 3 steering wheels.
So they're having fun over there in Solar Flare, although TK's not too happy with his performance right now. He's was up as high as 18th where he started, but he's fallen to 25th now. So maybe he could use a couple more steering wheels to try to help that car out. But regardless, fix setup, no adjustments. But these guys are looking at fuel only, no tires up and down the lane whenever they decide to make the pit stop.
Yeah, coming on down now, a couple of drivers. Bryce Senesac was one of the first drivers to come on down. One of the big things about pitting here at Watkins Glen, especially when you get one shot to get it right, do not speed on pit lane. It is a sharp downhill towards the pit exit, and a lot of drivers that aren't even paying attention, they find that gravity going to pull them downhill a little extra, and Finian getting a pit road speeding penalty here is so easy, and that would be catastrophic to anybody that doesn't have an enormous advantage over those that they're racing. And I can tell you by looking at the pack, they do not have an enormous advantage. They are racing so close here, and so you have to make sure that you execute this one stop. Brandon 6 pulling in the background.
Indeed. Now, so talking about executing when you're in such a tight battle, that entire group we were just looking at from 6th pretty much back to around 10th or 11th. So they're, like you mentioned, these guys are fighting for basically 10th at this moment, and we definitely don't want to get a pit road speeding penalty. It's going to be way down the order, and I've been caught out by this hill in the past. It doesn't seem that steep from the camera angles, the way they're placed, but I think we can get down the front straight. You can see right there how much it dips down. That's Chris Rabel also coming down the pit lane in the background. So Brandon 6 is going to come get some fuel, and off and away he goes. I'm so surprised they haven't fixed that with the tires. The fact that you can just come down here, do fuel only in a 50-lap race at Watkins Glen.
No, there's no way a tire would last that long here.
Endurance tires wouldn't even do that.
No. I mean, this track, as I mentioned, it's incredibly grippy, and it will basically shred tires. This track is actually known in the sports car and endurance racing world for blowing tires out because of the high loads that you see on tires. It's not abrasive, but you're just going so fast, you're putting so much side load on the tire, it just wears them out over time. So you would never be able to do that in the real world, but getting away with it tonight, fuel only for these drivers, it certainly makes this race that much more of a challenge, because while the tires are not going to blow out Hunter, certainly you're going to lose drivability in them, and it's going to get greasier and greasier as the night goes on.
Well, getting greasy right now is this lap traffic, as Jake Nichols encounters not only a tree, but Bryce Senesac there as well. Senesac actually going to go through the bus stop. Going to have a slowdown there, but gap has stayed about the same between he and Scioli, but they are continuing to drive away from both Beckner and Kern, and again, the gap has not closed between those two at all.
Yeah, Nichols and Scioli nip and tuck every corner. They're basically on top of each other. It's been true here for the 28 and 24 as well. And it's all going to come down to mistakes on pit lane if they make them, or mistakes getting off of pit lane. Now, heading up the hill, the aggression level is going to rise here as we see this battle a little bit further here in the pack. JT Poole, Seth Knoll, he's going to sweep to driver's left, and Nate Trado watching from behind as they enter turn number 6. That's where they're turning. They're going to touch on the entrance to turn 6, and through goes Trado past both of them. That was a little bit hands-on there, and they're going to sweep back out, and Rafe Slate now slots in between them.
Oh, this battle's not done yet. You see the one loose sideways off the final corner. Slate's going to take advantage. There we go. Going to be side by side heading down to turn number 1. There you see the 8 going to try to duke ahead of the number 1 machine. They're going to try to outbrake. Can't quite get it done. Seth Noel's coming back on the inside, and they're going to go side by side up the S's, dooring each other heading to turn 2.
Well, this is definitely treacherous territory as the 8's not going to allow the 1 to go just yet. JT Poole, meanwhile, just looking on in the catbird seat as they head down the first backstretch, and that's the view that JT's got. And going to back out from any trouble as they head into the bus stop.
I love road racing, and this is why it is just hands-on. You got to go for it here, and that battle was just like that. And that's why I also love the paved runoffs here. That was a controversial thing when they first put them in, but the fact that those drivers could go off and continue racing after that instead of being buried 2 feet deep in gravel, really enjoy the additions and changes made to the Glen over the last decade or so. But Rafe Slate now inserts himself in that battle. It's certainly physical out there, and the speeds you're carrying, any kind of contact can turn very poor very quickly, and they were lucky to get away with that one.
I was going to say, I was a bit interested by Six's move to come down pit lane to get himself out of that battle. I think he figured give himself some clean air, clean racetrack to work with, and he can try to make some moves. I think Frank Grosso may be thinking the same thing here as he dies out of that battle. He's going to come down pit lane to get, I would say normally 4 fresh tires, but just fuel for him, and he's going to be good to the end.
Indeed, he'll be good to the end on fuel. Rosso's had a solid top 10 run throughout the first half of the race, and now we see Chris Rabel right in front of Jake Nichols, our race leader. And it looks like that's Nick Silver as well. They're gaining up on more lap traffic, and Scioli liking what he's seeing, trying to pounce for the right opportunity on that 73.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Jake Nichols didn't hit pit lane last time by, seeing this traffic on the horizon. I'm also surprised the 7 didn't hit pit lane right here because they've got more cars to pass, and with how close it's been, that could have been the difference. So that was, I think, a strategic mistake by both of those drivers to not try to take advantage of the other when they got to lap traffic, and it's going to continue here. Everyone has to pit in the next 5 laps because they're going to run out of fuel, so a little bit surprised by that. You see here heading up the S's, this is going to crush Jake Nichols' lap time. Imagine if the 7 had hit pit lane, Finian. He might have had a couple tenths of a second gain there that would get him past the number 73. But Eric Wineland on pit lane with an update.
Hey guys, so I've been watching these guys that have now made stops. That includes Silver, Rabel, Ern, Senesac, Weishart, and then also Barroso and Brandon Six and Connor Okresic. Someone just went sliding right here beside the leaders. That is 67 of Ryan Swan, fresh off pit road. Or no, he's not fresh off pit road, excuse me. But it looks like the pit lane delta time is anywhere between 36 to 40 seconds. Best guy on pit lane I've seen was Brandon Six in the 66 at 35.9 seconds from the time he hit pit entry to the point he hit pit exit. So expect them to give up about 36 to 40 seconds through a pit cycle. That's going to put the leaders, if they decide to make that pit stop, back down to 15th. It's a little bit of clean track back there, but not much. They realistically want to get a little more of a gap. Then they'll be able to jump 12th place Cedric Hunter in the 07 car. So they need, I'd say, comfortably another 3 to 4 seconds gap over the 07 and the 51, who still can't see, mind you, before I would say the leaders are comfortable pitting. They need to try to hit that in the next 5 laps because the fuel is going to run out here right around lap 30.
Thanks, Eric. And as we hit halfway here, race fans, be sure to check out rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Try the Loxahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. Follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series and see which driver will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. Halfway through here, the Area Cup Series at Watkins Glen International. Great battle for the lead that has been persistent since the drop of the green flag, but Finian, pit stops coming soon and the battle will go on and continue.
Yeah, we only got more lap traffic up ahead in the distance, so really now would be a good time for one of them to come in. Still, neither driver is biting. I think Garrett Grant and Ed Robertson, who were actually the lap traffic up ahead, they've come in, so leaders are going to stay out another lap. I just want to look off the nose of Jake Nichols, see what lies ahead. I believe that's Douglas Newbigging just up the road. Or sorry, no, Dwayne Culberson in the 81 machine that's just up the road up to 21st. So everyone 22nd on back is a lap down. That is including some guys that did come to pit lane.
Indeed, as Nichols continuing the lead, Scioli still fresh on his tail. 2/10 back as they navigate their way through the bus stop. And boy, that 7 got close there, right in the middle of it. Still no budge from the 73 or the 7 as they have yet to make their pit stop. Neither has the 28 of Beckner or the 24 of Michael Kern, as Beckner is blinking in and out.
I just have to wonder if this 7 is trying to push the 73 here a little bit. I think with how close he's been that he could have gotten by the 73 if he wanted by the 73. Almost a touch there at turn 6. You see the 73 sliding, so Nichols certainly has pace, but I think the 7 is a little bit quicker, and he might know that, Finian, keeping the 73 pushing and maybe wearing out the tires so he can pounce in the last 20 laps or so as we approach lap 30 in just a couple minutes' time. So I think there's something to that. The 7 lingering in the background, waiting to pounce, but he has not chosen to do so just yet.
I was going to say, well, he was about to pounce in the final few corners. You saw there, you're talking about a metaphorical push to the 73. He was about to give a physical push to the 73. Got really close, and then they kind of separated that back out to 3/10, but now is in the slipstream heading down towards the inner loop. You see, he makes up so much time in the slipstream. So he's been definitely mounting a whole lot of pressure in the 73. I think just hoping there's a crack in his defense to go flying up and over the curbs.
Oh my goodness, it looked like the 7 was about to ram into the bumper of the 73. That would have been physical. Speaking of physical, me and the pit reporter, Eric Weiland, we both like watching guys get physical. Hockey joke. Eric, what you got on pit road?
Stick to calling races and not calling Game 7 between the Bruins and Panthers. I saw that Twitter video, Hunter. But no, the window's open right now. If I'm Jake Nichols, if I'm James Scioli, I want to be on pit road this moment. Ricky Springer has now pitted. Cedric Hunter is now 37.5 seconds behind the leader, so that window has opened. I'd be getting on pit road right now. It looks like they still want to carry on. There is a bonus point for leading the most laps, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jake Nichols has probably just clinched that leading this past lap. Michael Curhan, though, coming down pit road at me here, guys. Long way down this 45-mile-an-hour section of racetrack for the 24. I'll give you guys an update on what his pit lane delta is here. Also, mistake on pit road. I don't know if you call this a mistake. The 51 took 4 tires. 15.2 seconds stationary for Ricky Springer. I think that's because he couldn't uncheck anything in his black box, and I'm not sure his spotter was able to check anything for him in his black box if he's not fully put in as a spotter. Michael Curhan down and away in the number 24. He's going to rejoin the racetrack here in 11th, ahead of Connor Horn. Also, Cedric Hunter just made his pit stop. That frees up a lot of space for the leaders here, guys. Michael Curhan, 36.9 off down pit road from
James
Oh.
Scioli.
exit.
Yep, here comes the second place car, James Scioli, who is trailing Jake Nichols, so he's the first to flinch to the leaders. Nichols can't go much more than another lap or two, Eric, as the 7 comes down towards your way.
Long way down the pit lane. Someone's out of fuel over here in turn 6. It's Ed Robertson in the 64, guys. He is out of fuel over here in turn 6. I'm not sure he's...
He just pit. That's surprising.
Maybe he has damage. I'm not sure. He was just stopped in the... or moving extremely slowly in the runoff section of turn 6. I'm not sure what happened to the 64 there, actually. To me, it looked like he was out of fuel as I was whipping my camera by. James Scioli on and off pit road, 36.6 across pit lane. So he's marginally better than Michael Curhan, but that's going to put the pressure on Jake Nichols to perform cross pit lane here. Nichols should be thinking about pitting this time by, like I said, 30 laps on these tanks. Rafe Slate now on pit road here, guys.
Thanks, Eric. And the race leader, we'd expect to see hit pit lane this time through Finian, and then it becomes the race off of pit lane for the 73. And like I mentioned, easy to get that pit road speeding penalty. Not a mistake we've seen Jake Nichols make a lot. But we also don't go road racing all that much. Onto the binders, into pit lane here, Finian, for the race leader.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole matter of just not making a mistake, and he knows that in the back of his mind because that 7 was right on his bumper coming to pit lane, and he's got potentially a lap of clean air to work with. So can that 7 get out and get going quick enough to get past the 73? This is really James Scully's best bet.
Yeah, this could be the race-winning move for the 7, or for the 73, could be the race-losing move, as Scioli's going to come off turn 7 down the front stretch, but Jake Nichols has that first pit stall. He's got to be out now if he wants to stay in front of the 7.
And looks like, again, that shorter route to the inside, but it should be the number 7 leading the way up turn 2, and it is, but only by about 5-6 car lengths, but that was the difference, and now we have a new leader here at Watkins Glen as they climb the hill.
So now it's a matter, can 73, now that he's been passed, can he get back to the 7 and make the move? I don't really think so, because these guys seem pretty quick. If anything, Scully looked like he was better towards the end of that run.
Whoa, well, unless he bobbles there.
You want to know where that most of that gap came from between Scioli and Nichols? Pit lane. Jake Nichols, 37.3 across pit lane, 36.6 for James Scioli. That's 7/10 of a difference. The pit stop times were relatively the same. They took the same amount of fuel, but James Scioli really maximized his entry and exit of pit lane. Now he has the lead by 1 second.
Yeah, the entry to pit lane, you can gain a lot of time there because you're entering it from turn 11 or turn 7 rather as you come. I knew I was going to make that mistake at least once. I've been at the boot course all weekend in real life. But as you come off of turn 7 and you head towards pit lane, you can accelerate there for a solid 2 or 3 seconds before you have to stop and get down to about 50 miles an hour, which is pit road speed. So the 7 really maximized that. You can't really do a ton on pit exit until you get to the blend road, and that's not a pit road speed enforced area, so that's not going to count on the timer. But the 73 Finian, as you mentioned, wasn't really pulling away from the 7. I don't really expect him to be able to run him back down all that well unless Scioli makes a mistake.
Yeah, I think he might. There's a chance I think he can get back to the 7, but we always say, catching is one thing, passing is another, and I just don't think that Nichols has the outright pace at the moment to get past the 7 of Scioli. I do think the best moment for him will be if Scioli makes a mistake or gets caught up in the wrong place, wrong time with this lap traffic. At the moment, though, Nick Nichols, he has to work past 2 guys. Going to maybe split the middle a little bit. Ed Robinson lets him on by. Greg Mitchell still fighting in between them. He's stuck in between both of the leaders at the moment.
And that is for position 2, the 2 of Mitchell, as it looks like he's going to come down pit road this time, so no longer a battle, but now clean racetrack between the 7 and the 73. No cars in between those 2, and there's still plenty of time for the 73 to track down the 7 of Scioli, but like you said, catching's one thing, passing is another. Can he catch him? And then if he can, will he pass him? As we look a little further back, here's the 71 of Douglas Newbigging, running 12th on the track. JT Poole right behind as well. Solid day for both drivers.
Yeah, certainly. The 14 of Connor Okresic is back there as well. Started 17th, up to 14th. Hasn't been a spectacular day, but once everybody kind of sorts out and pits ahead of him, then they should be in good shape to move up a couple of spots. Go back up to the 66 of Brandon 6. That car currently scored in 10th place. Started up in 5th, as low as 19th. It's been a heck of a day for Brandon, but working his way back forward right now.
Yeah, I was going to also highlight, too, remember he was one of the first guys to come into pit lane, was fighting with Newbigging, Poole, and Okresic, and you see gain enough time. So coming in early, doing the short pitting was definitely, I would say, the better move to go as far as gaining some track position, giving yourself cleaner track to work with. We saw with Brandon 6, now we saw with the lead, Brandon Bowie and Seth Knoll coming in, and I think for the most part, they should be cycling out our leaders here. These guys are able to really go long, 34 laps.
Yeah, very intriguing there. Also, shout out to that pit sign. I believe that was the one of Knowles. It was that chicken over there. I was wondering whose that was, but seems like he's made his stop. Bowie's made his stop, and that has cycled Scioli, Nichols, Beckner, Kern, and Nate Trito as your top 5. It's within a second between the 7 and the 73 as they navigate their way through the bus stop once more, and see what the 73 Nichols can do. A little further back here is Beckner and Kern, and seems like the gap hasn't changed between those two one bit.
Why is the next gen in iRacing like driving with the fuel and tire consumption turned down to 0? It's just like 34 laps on a tank of fuel. That is a long, long way to go without major fuel saving. But either way, it certainly has made this very interesting strategy-wise. But the leaders will cycle back up to the front. Nichols trails Skyly by about a second, which is the biggest gap that we've had to the lead all day. And people wonder, Finian, why I like road racing. It has been absolutely one for the other here as they head back down into turn 1, down at the 90. Back up onto the old pit straight here at turn 1 to 2. Nichols last time by a 1:11.116, and he did gain about a half a tenth on Skyly, at least through turn 1, and continues to gain up the hill. He's really good up through the S's there.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can see exactly right there why they didn't come in for pit lane. Remember, these guys are running on the same tires they started this race with, and he's only 2/10 off of his best time, 35 laps into a race. I don't know how long have you had the next gen in iRacing?
Long time, since 2020, really. I thought 2021.
And it's still, and they still haven't fixed the tires.
Well, kind of replicates the real gen, or the real next gen a little bit. Tire wear not that big a concern, at least for some drivers. As, boy, here is, I believe that's Noel and Brandon 6. Yes, the gap has closed between them quite a bit since they pitted together, and they're going to duke it out for the 7th spot.
Brandon 6 battling for 7th and 8th. Out of all of that, leaving the carousel now and tracking out wide onto this extra paved runoff. The fun thing about that, it used to be all grass out there until they crashed, so they paved a section. Then they crashed again, so they paved it again. Then they crashed again, and they just paved it basically all the way to the boot at that point, and it's fair game to race on. Eric Wineland has an update for us from pit lane.
Hey guys, so the entire pit cycle has worked itself through now, as we've seen. So I'll give you guys some numbers here. The person that took the least amount of fuel had the best time, or the best stop time in their stall. Chris Rabel in the 29 didn't really get him very much anywhere. He started 21st, he's still running 20th. Next, tied for second in that category, Connor Okrezik and Brandon 6. The other thing that I was talking about was the pit lane delta, how long you spent on pit road throughout your cycle, and that award goes to Brandon 6 in the 66. So this guy in the 66 is really the winner, and he's jumped from 11th place before his pit cycle started up to 8th, and now he's putting the pressure on Seth Knoll for 7th place. I think he's probably the most impressive driver tonight in my eyes because of how well he got on and off of pit road. Love to see him capitalize on the better track position, maybe try to get past Seth Knoll here, but he falls away a little bit through this lap, a little bit of a scruffy lap on his part. But yeah, and nowhere up there in the top 5 of those categories is James Scioli or Jake Nichols. So they were a little more conservative. Obviously, Scioli out on the better end. He has the lead.
And they continue with under 14 laps to go, so it's winding down here at Watkins Glen. About 15 minutes worth of racing left to go. Lap traffic kind of interjecting. That's Rafe Slate in the 8 car. And back here a little bit behind them, there was a battle going on down the backstretch. That's the 28 of Travis Beckner and the 24 of Curhan. They battled prior to the pit stops as well, and they resumed their battle just as the leaders have. So really, first, second, third, and fourth, they have all been locked in a battle since the drop of the green flag about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's been a constant ongoing battle for a lot of spots, and then in behind them as well, there's this battle. It's starting to reform again. They broke up once the green flag pit stop started. Now they've kind of come back together again. Seth Noel, Brandon 6, Brandon Bowie, Douglas Newbing, JT Poole. JT Poole actually was running pretty well. I think it was closer to around 6th or 7th place. He did not come out of the pit lane the best, and I see why, because he took tires. 12 seconds in his box. So he took tires, as well as Douglas Newbigin. So I think that cost him quite a bit of time. So did Ryan Hartz, and I was wondering, because I was going to say I don't remember him being back in 6th, and he lost a spot to Nate Trado, who was jumped all the way up from 12th to 5th place. So a good run for the 9 machine.
Solid run for him and for Jake Nichols, both Solar Flare teammates. That's going to be good points day for them, as we're on race 4 of 17, and they took over as the leaders in the team championship standings just after Dover. So that's going to be a good point stay if those drivers can stay within the top 5. And right in between those two, you got Beckner and Kern, as we're following this battle through the carousel. Kern and Beckner, they basically stayed the same distance the entirety of this race. There was a lap where Beckner had a little bit of breathing room, and then for some reason it went away, and Kern has just been within 3 car lengths of the 28 cars since the drop of the green flag.
Well, he was about 3 car widths from smashing into that wall at the exit at turn 5. Used every ounce of pavement that they had paved out there to get a little bit closer to Travis Beckner. Didn't quite work out, but he continues to follow in hot pursuit. Race fans, be sure to check out shop.areairacing.com for merchandise to represent your favorite drivers and teams. Shop from our brand new selections of champion t-shirts, jackets, hats, and more. Easier to shop, quicker to ship, better to wear. That's the shop.areairacing.com promise. Also, I learned just the other day that the champion brand was invented in Rochester, New York, where I am right now.
Where are they now, though?
Not here, probably. If I had to guess.
It's probably somewhere warm on the West Coast.
Well,
just like Jell-O and Ragu and Kodak and all the other companies.
I was going to say they're doing better than Kodak.
Pretty much everybody's, but there's junkies in tunnels that are doing better than Kodak. So
I can't believe they're sucked to making printers now. That's the last thing I heard they were up to. I don't even know.
And they make movie film too.
Oh, they're still making movie film? Okay.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Their headquarters is now in Winston-Salem.
Oh.
Yeah, interesting.
Very
Eric
intriguing.
Weiland, anything interesting for us up here? We're getting off topic.
I timed this join perfectly because I am listening to the broadcast while I'm out doing my investigative pit reporting work, and I knew what you guys were going to spiral out of, so I made sure to come up and dump you out of that conversation. Listening to radio here from Michael Curran and Mark Patterson of Vizicas Motorsports.
What was that, Mark?
I think you're getting in his head at this point, keeping that pressure on him.
As the 24 was closing into the 28 just a couple laps ago is when that played out. Now, Michael Curran has made quite a few mistakes the last two and a half laps, and he's fallen back to just outside of a second behind Travis Beckner, but Travis was thinking about Michael Curran at that moment. Listen in.
Curran's all over me.
That's the only audio Travis has said for 2 laps, so he had that in mind. Obviously, he feels a little bit more comfortable right now after some mistakes from Michael Curran in the 24. Just made him fall back outside of a second. So Travis can focus forward, though it's 10 seconds up the road before he even gets close to Jake Nichols or James Scioli.
Oh, big stack. 4 cars heading
goodness.
into the carousel. Almost a giant mess as Brandon Six parked the bus on the exit, making a big mistake. And here they're going at it out of the carousel, Kyle.
Yeah, that got really wild there for a moment, and that inner loop and turn 5 area has been a trouble spot tonight. We haven't seen a lot of contact, but we almost saw a big pileup as everybody's scattered to try not to run in to the 66. Here's another look at it here on the Simrat Market replay as they were coming through the inner loop. Watch the 66. He runs wide to try to stay on course. He slows down, and then nowhere for the 1 to go other than into him, and that's what stacked up the field. Good work there by Brennan 6 to keep that car under control, but tried to keep it on course and got the boot from behind. Almost got sent into the boot here at the Glen.
Coming back live, and they're still nose to tail here, battling up through the S's here. So this is a great battle. This is 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. All these guys in this little group. Up for the lead, though. Gap actually separating back out, and this again not too terribly surprising. James Scioli, we were talking about a Hunter earlier. The 7, I felt like he was hiding someone. I think he's starting to flex his muscles just a little bit here. The gap's now 1.9 seconds.
Yeah, unless this is some master strategy from the 73 of Jake Nichols, it seems like the 7 of Scioli is driving away with possibly the win as he continues to stretch out that gap. You see, last lap ran the 1:11.121, and 73 trying to replicate that, but almost to an avail. 1:11.147.
Yeah, we're working lap number 42 of 50 here. 9 laps to go from Watkins Glen International, and the battle for the lead has fizzled, but there are still battles elsewhere. Continuing this one for 7th place with Seth Knoll, Brandon Six, Brandon Bowie, and Douglas Newbegin at the back of that shot. 4 cars all battling for position here, and it's all within a couple tenths of a second. As we head up the S's here, we're running out of laps.
Whoa.
Eric Wineland, what you got? Oh, Newbegin in the wall hard in the background.
Whoa.
It just snapped, and it went left, Finian.
We got JT Poole. Whoa.
Try to see what happened to him. That car just snapped. Not sure he got loose. It was a weird place to have that sort of incident.
Yeah, watch him turn it right there. Got off the curbing and then right back to the left and pow, left sides into the Armco. That's a pretty fast hit here. But watch him. He's riding on the curb here, riding on the curb all the way to the end. And as it drops away, bam, gets loose and then overcorrects and then into the blue bushes, as they call them here, that steel Armco that's been here since they built the track and updated it in 1971 after the 1956 construction. And he's got some blue marks on that left side now.
Yeah, fortunate for him, he's going to draw back to 13th. Could be worse though. I thought that was a much harder hit than it looked like. You can see there's barely even any damage on the car. So I think if anything, just shucking him up a little bit, but can get back at it. Try to get 12th ahead from back from Greg Mitchell, who's currently occupying that spot. Haven't spoken a lot about the number 2 machine. Hasn't had a whole lot of up or down progress today. Started in 11th. He's only dropped 1 position.
So I don't know if you guys had the chance to watch the F1 race in Baku this past weekend, but one of the Mercedes cars did a very similar thing where he high-centered his car on a rubble strip, and that's what Douglas Newbigging did right there out of the exit of turn 1. He kind of high-centered himself, and diffuser's hitting off that curbing, and then tried to turn off, and it just snapped on him. No, so I got radio for you guys from Brandon Bowie and company. This is regarding the incident we saw in the bus stop that stacked up into the carousel. I was just listening to Brandon Bowie. I think this is an early candidate, guys, for quote of the year that I'm going to play for you on the broadcast.
Yeah, it's really bad, especially for the S's.
Yeah, I'm just trying to survive. That's all. I guess now I know what a pig feels like on the being roasted. A little hot over here.
Brandon Bowie now knows what it feels like to be a pig being roasted, guys. What a quote, and what a drive from the 23 car as he's going to sneak by his teammate right there.
Yeah, up into 8th place. Thanks, Eric. Get down to 7 laps to go now. We're down to the final few minutes here at Watkins Glen for the Area Cup Series. Thanks for joining us here on Sim TV. Going road racing a whole bunch this week, so appreciate you joining us here. Through the high-speed S's here, speeds climbing north of 160, and then into the trouble spot, this inner loop, the bus stop. This has been a challenging area all night long, but mostly because of the aggression. And I mentioned in the pre-show how hard you have to drive through here, but some drivers have been taking advantage of that and getting themselves into trouble. But Bowie closing right into the one of Seth Knoll as they work their way through the carousel here. 6 laps to go now as the leaders take the next lap.
Yeah, Seth Knoll, I gotta admit, he's probably sweating on his shirt. He's probably dripping in sweat because he's been constantly in a battle, it seems, with every driver so far since the drop of the green flag. You can kind of throw Brandon Six into that conversation as well. Every time we look at them, they're battling someone, duking out with someone, have someone in behind them, either they're flying through the curbs. Something always been going on with them. I think they can't wait for the checker flag to come on and have a breather finally, and he still can't have a breather with 6 laps to go. He's up 23 and the 66 of Brandon Six sideways into turn 1, bowling it down.
Yeah, he woed it down in time before running into the bumper of Bowie, as here's an in-car view of just the 66 sliding through turn 1, trying to avoid hitting the 23 into the 7, which, by the way, the Celsius can has 200 milligrams of caffeine, Kyle, so if you're going to try it, be cautious because it is addicting.
I was going to go out right now after this and get one at 11 p.m. I think that was a good idea. But watching that battle, it reminded me a lot that slip down there in turn 1. I mentioned in the pre-show about how the Gen 6 car had a solid rear axle, which meant that you would run into a whole bunch of issues getting the car slowed down to get wheel hop. You don't get wheel hop anymore with this independent rear suspension, so you get a lot of lockups and late braking because you can push the braking so much more. As we watch Newbigging hounding the 2 of Greg Mitchell. This is a good battle here for position.
You really saw a battle. Whoa, as that Robertson gets a huge chunk of the wall there on exit as he slows down, moves out of the way for the leaders to go on by. And Douglas Newbigging getting close to the back bumper of the 2. Greg Mitchell and Ricky Barroso back here in 14th. Dropped a few spots since we last saw him before the green flag stop started. And then also a little bit further back, here's the one-eye pirate at the moment, Ricky Springer. Can't quite see out of his car. But still doing pretty good in 17th. Could be worse.
I will give him credit where credit is due. I don't think I would have tried to muscle it through even at my favorite track. Not being able to see where I'm going would be pretty frustrating. But half the joy of driving this track is taking in the sights of it. When you can't see it, what's the point?
Oh my goodness. He is still trying to wheel that thing.
The funny thing is he's not even going that slow. He's still hauling pretty hard.
It's one of those, the rumble strips help because you can kind of feel the edge of the road and you're not going to drive yourself off into the grass. But it's so fast and things come up so quick that without making new braking markers that are probably light poles or catch fence poles up there in the sky, it's pretty hard to go around this place without some kind of marker because you have to be so accurate to hit the brakes when you're doing 160. As Cedric Hunter is working over or being worked over by Connor Horn as Connor goes a long way around here into turn 7.
Side by side heading towards the wall, exiting the corner and exiting the final corner. Connor Horn looks like he's nearly going to get on through, and the 0700 though is going to go to the inside, Hunter.
Indeed, and looks like the 42 is going to clear those 7 for position. So you roll off into turn 2, and boy, good recovery there from Connor Horn. Lost a good bit of ground, made up that ground, and is now in the 15th position from the 07 to Cedric Hunter.
Yeah, and it all goes back to qualifying, though. Did not get the qualifying effort that he really needed. Got himself into trouble a couple laps into the race, and since then he's been digging himself out of a hole. With 3 laps to go, the battle here continues for position between the number 1 of Seth Knoll and the 23 of Brandon Bowie. This is going to get hotter before it gets cooler, Finian. With just 3 laps to go, Bowie is right there on the tail of the 1. Here he comes.
It probably needs an ice cold Celsius maybe to cool him down.
What is with the Celsius tonight?
I don't know. I just figured. I just saw it on the car. I was like, I might as well make a joke with it. It seems appropriate. But he goes.
Everyone's got personal sponsorships, but me. I'm not getting paid.
I never had Celsius. It seems interesting. I might want to try one after this. Whoa! As Brandon Bowie's getting close with the Celsius car of Knoll getting through the S's here. It is 23 of gears now, especially where a lot of these guys have been constantly in a battle with the laps cutting down. Are we going to start to see pushes go to shoves?
Maybe if you're within striking distance of doing so, and it might say Celsius on the car, but the Fahrenheit in the car for Seth Knoll is getting pretty toasty. We're getting the closing stages of this race.
I'll let that one slide. That was pretty good. As we get down to the last couple of laps, some other battles happening in the background there. There is the 14 of Connor Okresic, currently scored in 11th place and running real wide. They're using every inch of the road there. As we get down to the last couple laps, 2 laps to go for the race leaders. And again, Bowie running out of time, but there is the number 7 of Scioli, who has just driven away from the 73 and looking pretty good to cling to a victory here at Watkins Glen. And for Jake Nichols, Finney, without a little bit of bad luck for the 7, he's going to miss out on another victory. It's not that he hasn't been running good. He just hasn't been the best, at least so far, the first 4 races of the season.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I actually kind of felt like he might have been able to get it done here, but I mean, he's been so close this season. 4th at Daytona, 2nd at Charlotte, 3rd at Dover, and looking like it might be another P2 here as Scioli's coming to take the white flag.
Indeed, he's going to come off turn 7, the 7 car is, and he's going to take that white flag. So one final time around Watkins Glen, and we go a little further back as the 1 and the 23 continue to duke it out, where the bumpers could be used from both drivers here.
We're getting down to the last couple moments, and you asked if push would come to shove. It is so close. Off the rear bumper cam of the 1 here, Bowie is going to have about 9 more corners to get the job done here on the number 1. And I think we might see a little bit of contact there. But Bowie has been known to race pretty fair, so I also wouldn't be surprised if he was willing to just finish behind the 1 in this hard-fought battle.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up here. These guys are coming to get the white flag now this time at 23, tracking it hard out of the final corner. It's going to be side by side with both of them heading into turn number 1.
Knoll protecting the bottom. The 23 still going to look to the outside. Might try to cut it down here for turn 2. He's all over that one. I wouldn't be surprised if a bumper is moved as Bowie gets closer and is almost about to hit the bumper of Knoll as they go up the S's.
I think he optimized the wrong area there. He got a little bit too close and had to back up just a little bit. He could have timed that run a little bit better to have a run to the bus stop here, but checkered flag for James Scioli. He passed Jake Nichols in the pits, never looked back. James Scioli in the 7 wins at Watkins Glen. Nichols second again. Great points day as he continues this points battle up in the front of the championship, but a little bit further back for 7th place. Seth Knoll and Brandon Bowie battle for position here, Finian. 2 corners remain in their race.
I think Bowie didn't really get the run needed through the bus stop here unless he goes for the Hail Mary. He's only got a few more corners to make a move.
Now for Brandon 6 and JT Poole, they're also battling for 9th in the back. They're going to work their way through turn 7. They're going to dice it up for 9th, the 23. Not going to do anything with the 1. They're going to be door to door, and actually JT Poole is going to come off with the top 10. Something happened to Brandon 6. I'm not sure if it might be fuel, but he just lost the top 10 there, and that's going to go to Connor Okresic, who steals 10th at the very end.
I think 66 is out of gas at the line. That's really got to suck to miscalculate that much. And remember, we did see the 66 pit very early on and gained quite a bit on pit lane. It might have been from fueling just a little bit too short.
Eric Wineland, what you got?
6, out of fuel.
Too close. A little bit too close. But James Scioli had plenty of fuel and plenty of pace to outlast Jake Nichols in the number 73. And think back to that first run. I think he had the pace to go on by that 73, but he waited and he waited and he took advantage on pit lane, and he just outdrove the 73, not on the racetrack, but into the pit entry. And James Scioli in the number 7 will pick up another road course win. And who was it that picked the number 7? Because I think they're going to be a little bit richer had we done any bets.
That would have been yours truly. I have his audio as he crossed the line if you want to listen in.
Let's go for it.
Got me sweating. Good race, man. Had fun racing with you.
Hurry win, James.
Thank you.
Go ahead, James.
Thank you.
So if there's ever a celebration after a win, you know how some coaches, in a baseball dugout just get up and shake each other's hand, like, good job, you coached yourselves too. I feel like that's what the team channel was right there for Lucky Duck as James Scioli picked up the win. Very cordial, just, hey, we did our job, good job. We get to pick up the win, move on to the playoffs now here in the Area Cup Series.
Yeah, pretty utilitarian celebration there. I also want to take a couple points off for not doing the burnout down there in the turn 1 runoff area. It's basically what it was designed for. But James Scioli wins here at the Glen. Jake Nichols in second. Another great points night for the 73. We know the wins will come, but making the other races solid top 5s. Travis Beckner, P3, didn't have the pace to run it all the way up at the front tonight, but a solid top 5. Michael Curhan and Nate Trado wrap up the rest of the top 5 finish.
Yeah, solid job for the number 9, getting just upside in that top 5. Ryan Hart's that call to get the tires didn't quite work out. Cost him a top 5, gets demoted back to 6. Noel Bowie, JT Poole, and Okresic in a tight battle. The entire race, they finished in that order, rounding out your top 10. Moving on to the second page of results, Brandon 6, we saw just running out of gas, lost quite a few key spots there towards the end. New being Barroso, Mitchell, Horn. Connor Horn just getting inside the top 5 after he's had a top feature every day with Cedric Hunter, Ricky Springer, and his VR issues coming back to 17th. Cameron Hearn, Nick Silver, and Michael Sturgill rounding out your top 20.
And going through the rest of the results there, Chris Rabel had a race to forget. Same with the 8 of Rafe Slate. Senesac, Weissar, Jacob Bella as well. And those guys never really got moving through inside the top 20. Ben Pierce, Tyler Nichols, Garrett Grant, Ryan Swan, Jonathan Cogswell round out the top 30.
And looking down the very bottom of the order here, those that didn't have such a great day, a handful of drivers out, mostly self-inflicted incidents or just pulling off, but Culberson, Martin, Delonte Ballard, Skylar Shackelford, David Elliott all out. I don't even think Dean Thompson took the green flag. So there's the rest of the order there as we sweep back around. But let's talk to Travis Beckner, who finished 3rd on the evening. Travis Beckner brought it home, P3, a solid top 5 for you, Travis. It wasn't a win, but had a good battle there with Michael Curhan and brought home a really solid top 5 result tonight.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun racing with Michael there. Was struggling a little bit there towards the middle of the race. Lap traffic in the way and everything. Michael almost got me coming out of the pits. I was like, man, I'm getting held up too much. I need to start moving, and yep, ended up coming out in front of him. He ended up getting back to me, and then I actually figured out what I needed to do there towards the end.
Well, you had good pace there, Travis, and Watkins Glen, we know, is a track that you gain speed by being aggressive, and that's why I picked you to win this race. Talk to me about the challenges of racing on the tire that doesn't really wear out. You don't really necessarily get to use the advantage of saving tires at all. Take me through the night and the progression of the handling, because it didn't seem like the cars really slowed down all that much.
Towards the end there, it was getting looser. It was getting a lot looser on me. I was having a problem with it being loose all race. Felt real good through the S's though. I wasn't having any problems through there with it being tight. But yeah, besides the fact, fun race overall. And hopefully next time we go to a road course, I could be 2 spots higher on top of the podium.
Well, Travis Beckner, P3, the number 28 Toyota. Travis, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations on a top 5, and we'll see you next week at Michigan.
Thank you. Before I go, I'd like to thank my sponsors and family and everybody that's watching tonight. And y'all taking the time out of the day to come broadcast this.
Thanks, Travis. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Move on now to our second place finisher, a driver that is still winless this season, but we know the wins will come. The top 5s, though, are certainly good for now in the points in the overall championship hunt. Jake Nichols, P2 tonight, led a whole bunch of this race, Jake, but the pit stops, the 7 beat you off, and you weren't able to quite get back to the lead. Take us through the tail end of that race and what you needed to get back up to the number 7.
Better luck with lap traffic. I mean, James had more pace than me the whole race. I kind of got lucky getting the pole that I could just stay right in front of him, give him dirty air the whole time. I knew if he got out front, it was going to be hard to beat him. Lap traffic's just deadly, man. Especially in this last 15, 20, it's just it's like half of them don't have mirrors. I don't want to be rude, but it legitimately seems like that. You guys merging after they wreck right in front of you. Guys just not really giving an inch when they're a lap down at a road course, and it's just not the way. I'm not going to take anything away from James. He ran an insane pace the whole race. He deserved it for sure, 100%. I just wish we had a better in-lap when we were pitting. I knew I wanted to pit the moment he pitted, but I was trying to just wait a lap to run as hard as I could that one lap to maybe get a gap. But I caught my teammate Delonte, and he didn't do what I thought he was going to do. He was on the left side of the track when I got within 3 or 4 tenths of him, and then he shifted to the right up the hill toward the top of the hill, and I had to check up for him and go around the outside, which I don't know if that's what did it. I mean, I think I lost a little bit of time coming into the box too. I was a little too patient, but it's not ideal when that situation happens and it holds you back, and you know it did. But either way, we'll take a second. We got bonus points for most laps led. Not a clean race. We had about 30 off tracks in this race, but we got pole, we got a lap led, most laps led, so we racked up a lot of points. That helps going down the line. Yeah, we're not winning, but in my mind, I'm still racking up the playoff points if I go into the playoffs number 1 seed. That's still 25 or 30 points. I can't remember which one it is, but it's still a good gap. So if we can just manage to get lucky in some of these races, find our way into victory lane a couple times, I think we'll still have a really good situation going into the playoffs later this year. But either way, for Solar Flare Racing, it was a good run tonight with Nate Trado. Solid top 5 as well. So we'll move out of here with our heads held high and look for better results in the future.
Well, P2 for the number 73, Jake. Right place, almost the right time. You'll get one soon, but great run tonight. Top 5 for the number 73. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And now it's time for the number 7, and we believe the first win for Lucky Duck here in the area series. Checkered flag for you, James. A playoff podium, or playoff spot, I should add, as well with your win here at Watkins Glen. A great battle you had there with the 73, but you beat him on pit lane. Take us through that battle, the chase, the first half of the race, and then the sprint away from him on the second half.
Man, must have been pretty exciting. Sounds like you lost your voice there, so hopefully you guys were enjoying the race. Hopefully we put on a good show.
I was in real Watkins Glen as of the last couple of days announcing, so that's why I'm roasted and toasted, James.
Gotcha. So yeah, it was dirty air is just so frustrating in this car. It's really hard to break that bubble. So I was really just trying to put it on pole and not have to worry about it. And of course, I qualified second, so I knew that I'd have to deal with that, and got a pretty good jump off the initial start and was hoping to just get around Jake, but Just didn't have the preferred line, obviously, up the S's, and kind of just had to sit behind him, and that's where I rode about half a second back, couldn't break that bubble behind him, and so I knew that once I got fairly close to him, like 3 or 4 tenths behind, I wanted to jump into the pits, just hope that I had a clean exit and could have a good outlap, a good clean outlap with no traffic, and that's exactly what happened. I think Jake said he got held up kind of on his in lap a little bit, so just put my head down, put the best lap together I could, and I felt like I was better than Jake the whole race, just couldn't quite ever get around him, and then once I was able to get around him, just started clicking off good laps and just tried to set sail and drive away.
And you did just that, picked up a win here at Watkins Glen. James, you're always tough to beat on the road courses. Nothing's different here in upstate New York, so congratulations on that, and we'll see you next week in Michigan.
Yeah, thank you guys. I want to say a big thanks to you guys and the admin team. It was nice to obviously have no cautions today. Hopefully we put on a good race for you guys, and hopefully everybody enjoyed it. And then big thanks to Lucky Ducks Motorsports. This is their first win in Cup Series. It's pretty cool. Happy to be a part of that. I was kind of a late addition, so happy to get them their first win. And then huge thanks to Roasted Gems Coffee, RS Button Boxes, Ology Brewing, and Stream for No Kid Hungry for all being on the car. And we're going for the clean sweep this week, so hopefully we can get another one tomorrow.
All right, James. Hey, congratulations. Winner at Watkins Glen. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
And that's going to wrap up the interviews here tonight. Finian, kind of a wild night of racing. Saw a lot of really good battles, and as James alluded to, no yellow flags to slow down the progress this week either, which was good. It had a nice natural flow to it, a little bit of strategy involved there as well, and certainly some frustrations through the field getting through some lap traffic. But all in all, a great race here at the Glen.
Yeah, no, it's a really solid stuff. It's nice to see that tight battle for the lead. Again, like I said in the past, you see many times where you just see one guy go out there and dominate, but we saw necessarily 2 guys go out there and dominate most of the rest of the field, but they kept it close. It was a tight battle, mostly with it. I think the entire lead didn't get separated more than 3 seconds the entire time. It was a tough battle fought between both of them, and just interested to see James Kelly come out with the win. And again, Jake Nichols, no win this season so far. We keep hyping this up, but I think at some point 73 is going to get a win, but it's really nice to see how much the competition has stepped up this season to make sure that 73 doesn't run away with this title.
Indeed, it'll be a little more challenging this time around for Jake Nichols. 4 races in, no wins on the season, but that could change very soon as we're going to Michigan next Monday. That will be a very interesting one and seeing how that race turns out, but we've got 4 different winners in the first 4 races, and all that means is if Jake Nichols wins next week, there'll be 5 different winners within the first 5 races of the season. But overall tonight, very great road course race, as Watkins Glen always does not disappoint. We'll have to see what the rest of the week unfolds as the Truck and the Pro Series will go at this track.
Eric, final thoughts.
It's amazing that 2 guys controlled the race, and even then, we still had exciting action between them to figure out who was just going to be the better one on pit road and off of pit road. And obviously managed the lap traffic as well, as Jake Nichols pointed out in his interview. But I don't know what you guys are talking about. I mean, yeah, Jake Nichols, big deal. He's on his longest winless streak of his area career. Look, the man's had 4 top 5s already throughout the season to the 4 races that we've run, and he just opened up his regular season's point lead even more to 25 points over Ricky Springer atop the Area Cup Series regular season standings right now. So I don't think there's anything to worry about in that 73 camp. He's already getting a ton of playoff points just if he can nail a regular season championship once more. Wins will come. They're a part of it. But yeah, impressive nonetheless. Like Hunter said, that the field is just stepping it up another level, to take it after Jake Nichols. And excited to see what Michigan holds next week.
We got more Watkins Glen coming up tomorrow night and Thursday night. Trucks tomorrow, Pro Series on Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us here on Sim TV. Kyle Heyer, Finney DeCuna, Hunter Sleppy, and Eric Wineland. We'll see you tomorrow for the Trucks at Watkins Glen.